Hey everyone, it's Lucky with Unfiltered Lucky. And today I want to talk about the possibility that the house at 1122 King Road was actually the target in these Idaho 4 crimes, and how there could be a possible connection between this house being the target and the 8-hour delay in calling 911. Now, we know that it would be risky for one person to enter a house full of people with the intentions of committing a crime. But that could also work toward that person's advantage. Now, was this house chosen because it was a party house? There would have been a lot of students in and out of this house. There would have been a lot of students possibly just hanging around this house, and there would have been a lot of noise. We know from body cam footage and from the noise complaints that this house was known to be loud. Now, with a lot of people in and out of this house, that would mean that there would be a lot of various types of DNA. So there would also be, when people are going in and out of houses, there's also a good chance that a door could be left unlocked or that multiple people know how to enter this house. So even though it would be risky for one individual to enter a house to commit a crime when, there's 6 people in this house, the fact that the King Road house was a party house may have been a deciding factor in why this house was chosen. There were 5 different roommates who lived in this house, with all different friend groups and probably meeting new people all the time. So it might not be uncommon for the roommates or people around this house to see a stranger every once in a while. With so many students coming in and out of this house, it probably wouldn't be suspicious to the neighbors to see people, leaving and entering this house because they probably see it all of the time. Now, if the suspect was clad in black, they might be suspicious because then the person looks like they're breaking into the house to rob the place. So is it possible that the foot traffic, along with all of the noise in this house and, the kind of chaos that was going on in this house, is it possible that that played to the suspect's advantage? And that's the reason that the suspect chose this house. Now, I'm going to talk about a scenario that I've been thinking about for a while. And this is just a theory, but it involves the reason why Dylan and Bethany didn't call 911 for almost 8 hours. Is it possible that Dylan and Bethany really did believe that they were just hearing sounds from people partying in their house that night and really didn't, think anything odd of the sounds that they were hearing? Now, we know that Dylan had called out of her room and that she was she was opening her door to see what was going on because she was hearing these noises. But is it possible that she didn't, put it together and didn't realize that, something very violent was happening in the house, that she actually did think that these were people partying in the house? I mean, Dylan and Bethany would have had to have been used to a lot of noise around their house. This was a party house. So I'm sure that Dylan and Bethany had heard loud noises all night before this. So it is possible that Dylan and Bethany maybe just thought that these were party noises. Now, also, did the suspect see Dylan? We've asked that question before. How did the suspect not see Dylan? And Dylan saw the suspect. But what if the suspect did see Dylan? And at that point, what if the suspect originally did not plan on taking 4 people's lives in this house? And by the time that he was leaving and he saw Dylan, he already felt like it was more important to leave the crime scene because 911 could have already been called. So it's possible that maybe he saw Dylan, but he felt like it was more important to leave the crime scene before he ended up getting trapped in this house by law enforcement. He knew that he was covered up. He was wearing a mask, and the only thing exposed really would have been the top of his nose, his eyes, and his eyebrows. And it was dark. So maybe he felt safe in leaving the scene knowing that Dylan could not identify him. So let's say that he does exit the rear sliding glass door in the kitchen. And maybe Dylan really didn't have a weird feeling about seeing him leave the house. It's possible that Dylan really did believe that this was a guest who had been at the house and was just now leaving. And maybe he didn't think much of it because, she wasn't hearing any more noises. I mean, the possibility, maybe Dylan's thinking there's 6 people in this house. There would be chaos. There would be screaming. There would be a lot of things going on. And maybe she didn't hear that. And so that's why, she didn't get a weird vibe from it. And maybe she did just go back to bed. Now, what if Dylan did wake up around 9 a.m.? Wakes up around 9 a.m. and walks out into the house and, maybe sees traces of body fluids around the house, but doesn't see any bodies, or she doesn't see anybody because Ethan and Xana were in Xana's room with the door closed. So, what if Dylan did send out a text to everybody, asking everybody if they were okay or if something had happened, that night? And Bethany was the only one who responded. So maybe Bethany and Dylan decided that they weren't hearing from the roommates, so they were going to go in and check on Ethan and Xana. Now, it's possible that, when they go to open Xana's door, Ethan is right behind that door. So they're only able to get it open just a little bit. And, he's unconscious. And Xana's unconscious. So they can't get either one of them to wake up, and they can't get the door fully opened. So what if it's possible that they thought that Ethan and Xana may have OD'd and they panicked? It's possible that they believed that Xana and Ethan were unresponsive because they had OD'd. And, maybe that sent them into panic mode. And so they felt like maybe there were other narcotics in the house. It's very possible that there were other narcotics in the house. And Dylan and Bethany, felt like they needed to clean all this stuff out of the house. and clear the house so that they wouldn't get in trouble. Because obviously, if some of their roommates have OD'd, they're going to want to know where these, narcotics came from, and they're probably going to want to look through the house. So maybe Dylan and Bethany took this time to try to clear the house of anything that they felt may get them in trouble. Now, possibly after they do this, they decide to call over some friends because maybe they don't want to know what's on the other side of that door. Maybe they're a little scared to look on the other side of that door and see what has happened to Ethan and Xana because they believe that they could have possibly OD'd. So they call friends over. And one of those friends is Ethan's friend. And they come to the house, and now Ethan's friend has been told that, Ethan has possibly OD'd. So he rushes to the house, and, maybe he forgot his phone when he went to the house because, he had just heard that his friend possibly OD'd and rushes over to the house, forgets his phone. So he uses Dylan's phone possibly to call 911 and tell 911 that there's an unresponsive individual on the second floor of the King Road house. And 11:58 is when that call went in. Now, eventually they would get that door open and realize that it wasn't an overdose at all. And at this point, it's very possible that that's when they decide to head upstairs. And that's where they find Kaylee and Maddie. So it's a possibility. It's that 8-hour gap. To call 911, it just doesn't make any sense. So I think that I've just been really thinking about that and trying to think about ways to explain that. And this was one of the only ways that I can really think of that would make sense, and that would be a reason why they didn't call 911 right away. So this is one of the scenarios that I've been thinking about because, it would make sense that maybe they didn't call 911 because they were worried about getting in trouble themselves for narcotics that may have been in the house. It's a possibility. Now, stay tuned for my next video, and please like and subscribe to my channel if you like my content. I really do appreciate it. We'll see you next time.